Josh Appel. I have a lot of stuff to talk about regarding the Dolphins. First of all, would you give Tua any run tomorrow in the preseason game too?
Yeah, I'd like to see him again for another series or two.
What
Why?
about what Solana and Crowder are saying? Yeah, why? Like what?
Why? Like,
Like
what do you need to see out of Tua?
I like it. Just more reps to me are good
Yeah.
reps. But
I mean, there's the downside, obviously, that, he could get hurt, but that's the case in practice. That's the case in a regular season game. That's the case anywhere. I don't really find that to be a good explanation or a good reason not to play him. I'm not saying you play him for a full half, but I'd like to see him again for another drive.
But I could see. I want to see Kenneth Grant. I want to, I want to
Well,
see.
fortunately, Tua and Kenneth Grant play different positions, so you should be able to see Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant's in a bigger situation to get hurt. Like, I think I'm going the other way with it. Like, what does Tua need to prove? You need to see him throw a slant. You need to see him throw a deep ball. Like, you just want to see Tua selfishly, or do you think he needs to be out there? I don't think he needs to be out there.
Well, I'll say this. I don't think he should play in both of the next two games. I'd like to see him. I know you guys were talking about how we're probably not going to see Tyreek or Waddle again this week. If those two are healthy enough to maybe give it a go in game 3, then I'd like to see Tua have his second round of reps in the preseason. I think, to your point, I'm not going to lose sleep if Tua doesn't play against Detroit this weekend. I don't need to see him throwing again to Malik Washington. Like you said, I'd like to see him with Tyreek and Waddle. So if those two are available for the third game, then I'd like to see him.
Yeah, you know what? Now that, because Solana had said, you have him out there with the reserves, maybe you save him for the home crowd because there's only one home preseason game. That actually makes some sense. Hey, Tua, we'll keep you on the bench this one, but Jalen and Tyreek will be back, and we'll give the home crowd a little something to cheer for against Jacksonville. Maybe that's the play. We've talked plenty during the week with plenty of different writers and reporters, and I wonder where you stand. And then I saw an article today in the Palm Beach Post from Joe Shad, and the headline is Miami Dolphins' low national expectations have reached laughable levels. And I'm so down with this. And people, I read the YouTube comments. People think I am insane for thinking positive things about the Dolphins. But I'm with Joe Shad. He writes, the negativity has gone too far. USA Today predicts the Miami Dolphins to finish 5-12. Sports Illustrated predicts the Dolphins to finish 6-11. The Dolphins are heavily favored to miss the playoffs in 2025. At the Hard Rock Bet app, Miami is plus 220 to make the playoffs. That means a wager of $100 wins $220 if they're one of 7 AFC teams to qualify. Consider Miami made the postseason in each of Mike McDaniel's first 2 seasons. He says Miami's one poor joint practice with the Lions became national news. The Dolphins have been scrutinized and belittled on such platforms as ESPN, Fox Sports, and NFL Network. He goes on and on and on. That's kind of how I feel. What are we doing here, Josh, with what I consider to be a pretty talent-laden team?
I don't really get it either, because you look at how they finished last season. They started the year 2-6, obviously. They finished the year 6-3. 6-2 if you want to leave out the BS Week 18 game where they were playing for something but weren't really playing for something, and it was Tyler Huntley. They finished the year on a pretty high note after a tumultuous beginning to the season. The problem is the caveat is always, all right, if everybody stays healthy, then this team can be a playoff team again. And that's a pretty big if with the players that they're relying on to stay healthy. But I'm with you. Like, I was so exhausted by the 2 days of joint practices with the Lions. Like, we're overreacting to a practice in the first 2 weeks of August, and then the next day seemingly goes better, and it's crickets from everybody who was crying the day before. Let's just take a deep breath. Let's get to week 1. Let's see how they are through the first month of the season, and let's have some patience. Like, I just feel like a lot of this stuff is just, all right, we have to have something to talk about, right? Because to your point, and to what Joe Shad was saying, and Omar Kelly as well, I know he had said something publicly on Twitter as well about it almost feels like people are rooting for this team to be bad this year. On paper, they're really good. When Tua's healthy, they're a really good team.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I read the Warren Sharp thread last week when Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa are both out there. McDaniel's always out there, but when Tua's out there and they're together, they're 25-13 over a 38-game stretch. Granted, I know they're not great against teams that are above 500. I think the record's like 6-11, and maybe they are in this weird purgatory where they were with Ryan Tannehill, and they have been for the last 25 years, save for a season here and a season there. But when they've got all their guys in the field, like, I don't see why this team can't win 10 games and at the very least, and get into a wild card spot. I know the schedule's tough, but I still think if they have their guys out there, that's a tough matchup for anybody in the league.
I agree 100%. I love Joe Shad's article today because I do find it funny that everybody in the national media is just saying, like, basically this team is going to self-combust at some point this year, which I find bizarre. Full disclosure, guys, I was going to tell you this later. I bet the Dolphins to make the playoffs. I did it this morning.
Yeah,
because
I like that bet.
It's at plus 375 for them to make the playoffs. However, Josh, with that being said, here's where I'm at, because you said, hey, this team last year, they got Tua back, they were 6-3. I'm with you. When they're healthy, they're a good team. But I thought this year, good wasn't the standard. I thought this year they were supposed to go beat the elite teams. Like, I genuinely thought coming into this year, Stephen Ross puts out that memo that the status quo won't be good enough this year. So I was expecting a roster that was going to be able to go compete with the teams that they've been unable to beat over the past couple of years, even when healthy. And it doesn't appear like that is the expectation anymore. We're kind of just saying, hey, they're going to be good if they're healthy again. But we've seen good if they're healthy, and it wasn't good enough to beat the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Texans, so on and so on. So that's where I'm at here. And I wonder where you're at, which is, are we okay with this soft reset and not expecting playoff victories, plural? And if that's the expectation, fine. But I'm confused because I was expecting coming into the season something totally different.
I think that's totally fair. I also think, like, we're taking Stephen Ross like a little too literally there. Like, what else is he going to say, right? I feel like that's been his MO the entire time he's been the owner with the Dolphins. But yeah, like, I think that's a completely fair way to feel if I were you. But I'd also say, like, the Dolphins went to Buffalo last year in the beginning of November and lost on, what was it, like a 61-yard field goal or something like that from Tyler Bass. I think Jordan Poyer had a really bad penalty late that put them in range at least to make that kick. They've gone to Buffalo a couple of times over the last few seasons and nearly won. I remember the snow game in the playoffs with Skylar Thompson, despite how terrible he was in that game last year, of course, losing 30-27. The problem is, I don't know if it's a problem, but, like, they are perennially like a bounce or two away from being an 11-win team, and then a bounce or two away from being an 8 or 9 win team. And I think that's the frustrating part. I don't think they're as far off as people are making it seem, but they're very clearly not one of the top tier contenders in the league. They're like fringe second tier, I would say, because they've got a fringe, like, top 10 quarterback, and that's just kind of where they're at. I don't think, like, I hear, all right, well, they got to win they got to win a game in the playoffs for this season to be a success. And I don't disagree with that, but I think it matters too, like, how they look if they make the playoffs and lose in that first game. Like, if they go on the road to Kansas City or they go on the road to Baltimore or Buffalo and they lose a heartbreaker in the fourth quarter, am I really going to be pounding the table to fire Mike McDaniel? Probably not. But if they go and they get their doors blown off and they look like they do, where they can't run the ball in the middle, they're out physicaled once again, I think then that's time to have that conversation. But, like, again, to make these sweeping, definitive, this is what they're going to be, I don't see the 5 game, they're going to win 5 games. Like, I don't understand that. They're a lot better than that. And I know we've beaten that drum for a long time, the last month or so, leading into the season.
Let me push back a little bit on Hawk. And because you say this roster's great, because we've already been, I'm in Tampa now, but it's personal, but I've been to Philly, Detroit, Green Bay, Indy, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and LA on this little podcast training camp tour that we do. Mm-hmm. And the thought is, like, they have 2 really good receivers, a really good quarterback. Well, I'll call Tua really good. A patchwork offensive line, no tight end, a little bitty running back that's kind of a slot receiver. Like, I don't think the league respects this roster like Hawk does.
That's fair, but don't you think Achan's better than just a little bitty running back who is a slot receiver? Like, I think he's pretty good, and I think the offensive line is improved.
They're improved, but they're patchwork. And then defensively, I'm with you. If you give me a 23-year-old Bradley Chubb, you give me a healthy Jalen Phillips, a healthy Chop Robinson, a healthy Zach. Like, if you give me a healthy front four, it would be on paper one of the best front fours. Bradley Chubb got a big-ass knee brace on every practice. Jalen Phillips has never been healthy. I think they look at it, and we know the secondary struggles. I'm actually impressed more with the linebackers than any other position when I went and watched the camp. I think we value, and I don't want to put names out, I think we value their roster more than people around the league does.
Well, I think that's where it stems from, but I would submit to you, going back to the offense, how about I throw in a recently retired tight end who may or may not be in game shape?
Huh. And I watched him stand around at 6'6", 250, looking beautiful with tattoos all over his body. But his ass was over there with me. We were drinking Gatorade together.
How's he doing?
You want a blue or an orange? I'll take a blue. See, okay, here you blue. Okay, here goes a blue.
No, I look, that quote unquote lack of respect, I guess, is earned just because of the perception outside of Miami. And honestly, with a lot of people in Miami, I think it. When you have players like Jalen Ramsey go on, these podcasts and take pot shots at their former head coaches, I mean, yeah, that's going to breed some of that. There's no-name linebacker from the Lions who is talking about how the Dolphins are going to come in there and they're going to dominate them, which happened on the first day. Like, that just breeds the narrative that they are not as good as we might think. It's what Hoch and I actually landed on this on Friday. It's because every time they're on national television, when everybody's watching, something catastrophic happens, something embarrassing happens, and that's just the narrative. It's the Dolphins. And I guess, part of that is earned because every time they do get on that stage, those things do tend to happen. But like on a week-to-week basis, like leading into those national games, like I'm seeing a team that can compete with anybody in this league. But it's when they get up to that, when the bright lights come on and they're on Amazon Prime or Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, things always seem to go a little haywire.
Put in a Super Bowl bet, Solana. I mean, just follow my and Appel's lead here.
Okay.
I don't want to be the negative guy, but I think I got to be the negative guy because
that's fine. Like,
you don't think they're a playoff team
first, and that's totally
all
fair.
I'm saying is you don't think that they're a wild card team.
I think they're exactly what they've been. 5-12 is crazy.
That's crazy. 6-11 is crazy.
6-11, I say it's crazy. 8-9, 9-8, make the wild card and get their ass whooped.
They're good.
I think we're the same. I think we're the same as what we've been.
If they're only an 8-win team, then it's the most inept coaching staff you cannot have as much talent as they have, because whether you want to say that the national writers think they're talented or not, they're not devoid of talent. They're not. So if they're an 8-win team, it's the worst coaching staff in the history of football.
What about a 9? 9-8.
Yeah, a winning season. They are a winning season roster-wise. They are.
So 9-8 and get their ass whooped in the wild card. That's not okay. Daniel's been here too long.
Getting to the playoffs the season after you didn't get to the playoffs is improvement.
But just again, like when there were no expectations for this team, and when they were running an offense out of a Manila folder with an octogenarian at offensive coordinator, nailed it on the third try.
Well said.
Thank you.
So the octagon was running who?
The octagon was running a hexagon.
And breathing what?
I don't know, whatever. It was 13-8 his first 2 years, and they were running an offense inside of a phone booth.
Yeah,
He's a good player when he's on the field. They win games when he's on the field. I mean, that's just what it comes down to every year with this team. Can Tua stay on the field? When he does, they win. When he doesn't, they're terrible.
He's right.
Well, I know nobody wants to hear this because it's almost like becoming repetitive, but I think what Crowder and I are at is, okay, yes, they win, but win what? And I think that's the divide here. In my opinion, The Dolphins fans who genuinely want this team to lose are just wackos, like whatever. But I'm talking about expectations. If Tua's on the field with Mike McDaniel, they are good. And I think Hoch is right. And Appel, you're right. But what we're saying is good enough for what? And if just making the playoffs is the standard,
it's not the standard, but it's the next step. You keep getting those confused. And it's like, no, the standard for any professional sports organization is winning championships. Like that's the reality. But you don't go from not making the playoffs to winning a Super Bowl.
What if I add this context to you, Hoch? Last year was an anomaly in the Mike McDaniel era. Tua was hurt. Okay, but this year that won't happen, right? Like that's what they're banking on. That's not going to happen, so you should pick up where you left off in 2023, right?
Right. Win a playoff game.
And 2023 was making the playoffs. So this year should be not just be a winning team, win 10 games, make the wild card. It should be pick up where you left off in 2023. Totally go narrow the gap between you and the teams that have kept you from winning a playoff game.
Totally agree.
Okay. 2023. We keep bringing up, put last year out of the window. 2023. 2023, they go 11-6. 2023, Tua goes to the Pro Bowl. 2023, they go to the wild card, get their doors blown off by Kansas City.
Very cold.
Okay, hold on. But
now,
Crowder,
no,
look at who their pass rushers were. They were going to play Mahomes. The weather, two guys who were retired.
The weather.
It was Bruce Irvin and Melvin Ingram.
Very cold. Teron Armstead said humans should not have played football in that weather.
We're still talking about the temperature during game time and not the results of the game.
I'm talking about who was out there for the Dolphins.
And I'm talking about the temperature because that's why they lost.
Tua was there. You're saying if Tua's there, we're good. I'm saying
not in that temperature.
Austin Jackson's already hurt. Liam Eichenberg, I don't want him to play. He's hurt.
Well,
we don't have a tight end. Julian Hill's going to lose 3 games for us just jumping off sides.
You ever had a nice hot cheeseburger? Well, try to eat that cheeseburger while it's ice cold. It ain't the same experience.
Yeah.
Tua is that cheeseburger.
I ordered a naked cheeseburger for lunch today.
That's ridiculous.
It's just a meat patty sitting on the plate.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I thought it would be more to it. I didn't know. I thought it'd be items on there or something. It was meat on the plate.
My grandma used to serve me like a cheeseburger, just like a cheeseburger on a plate. And I don't think she knew that they sold buns.
It was Seasons 52. And I thought it was cute, like naked cheeseburger. I didn't know what it was, but I ordered it.
Carb, if you're watching your carbs.
It was just a patty on the plate.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah.
At least give you like a lettuce bun or something.
You're in Tampa and you didn't go to Portillo's? You went to Seasons 52? What are you even doing?
I was saving money on the Ubers because I didn't want to Uber, so I just walked across the street.
Ah, okay. Fair enough. All right, we got to go. Josh Appel, we love you.
I love you.
More Hochman, Crowder, and Solana next.